Warning! Warning! This podcast has strong language, opinions, and may cause some people to become incredibly butthurt. Discretion is highly advised. Just, so you don't get your feels hurt.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Jay from Pop Chaos here with
Madison.
Right. So we are doing something today. It's a little out of the, I won't say it's out of the ordinary. Nothing's out of the ordinary when we do it, because we are out of the ordinary. We're doing a new thing called Epi 1, EPI.1. It's basically the format we're going with is we are going to take something that at least one of us on the show has never seen before. We're going to watch the first episode of it, and we're going to judge from that whether we want to continue watching it. And then later on, if we watch the whole series, we'll come back and do a retrospective on the entire series. So, Madison, why don't you go ahead and tell them what we watched today?
So, we watched Evangelion.
Yes, Neon Genesis Evangelion Episode 1. I will admit, we kind of cheated. We actually watched 2 episodes because, tell them why.
Good. It's so good.
And I think that answers my first question. My first question would be, after watching the first episode, would you watch the rest of it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, tell me a little bit about your thoughts, because I didn't ask you anything before we started recording. I wanted your fresh take live on the podcast so that everyone would, everyone will hear it when I hear it. So.
Yeah, so my first initial take of it was, I'm just going to start off saying I love animes that start off with just straight into the action. I hate animes that build up. So this starting out in the middle of what was going on, I'm just like, okay, it hooked me instantly. So with that being said, that's why I guess we went to episode 2, because the first episode felt short because I just was so into it. So yes, it hooked me right away. So
you like how episode 1 started, where you got Shinji coming in. I mean,
Yes.
you don't know the character, you don't know the setting, you don't know anything, because you'd never really, I don't think, even heard of Evangelion until I talked to you about it. So
No, I haven't.
you see Shinji come in, and you're instantly wondering who is this kid? What's he doing? What's going on?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's there's no backstory with this character. You're just in the middle of this chaos. So like you said, you're like, okay, who the hell is this? All right, is he not aware of what's going on in the background? I mean, he's literally in the middle of this action that's going on with the military and everything.
Right. So, okay, one thing that is important that, and I'm not going to give any spoilers. We're only going to talk about episode 1, maybe a little bit about episode 2, because that's all he's seen so far. I mean, I could tell you all about the series because I've seen it umpteen million times. I have it. I even have the whole series and the movies on Laserdisc, man. That's how much I like it. I've got it on DVD, Blu-ray, Laserdisc. I mean, it's multiple copies. But anyway.
Yes. You've been on me probably for a year about watching this. So.
It's one of my favorites of all time. I can't say that enough. So what did you think starting off of Shinji? Because that is a major point of contention with a lot of Evangelion fans. A lot of people hate Shinji. What did you think of him so far?
So he did seem kind of weak, I would say.
They didn't explain this in the show yet, but I will go ahead and tell you, he's 14 years old.
Okay.
And so is Rei. Rei, Asuka, Shinji, they're all 14 years old. So keep that in mind as you watch the series. I mean, you already said weak. Timid, I would consider Shinji timid.
Timid, that is a perfect word.
But think about him in the shoes of a 14-year-old kid. So from that perspective,
that makes more sense because he is getting a lot of pressure thrown onto him. And just a little bit of flashbacks in episode 1, it seemed like he had a lot of family issues. So I could understand with you saying that he's 14 with the mindset that he has, where he's just like, I feel like I can't do this. Because, I mean, that is a lot of responsibilities for a 14-year-old. I can't say that real life scenarios I've ever had, that many responsibilities put on me. Now, with that being said, I know this is an anime, and I'm not the fate of the world is not dependent on my decision. But
from your own personal trials from growing up, you can kind of relate, and that's what
yes, absolutely.
that's what Shinji is supposed to be. Shinji, people misunderstand. Shinji is supposed to be a representation of people because, and like I said, I'm not going to go into the themes of the show yet because you haven't seen it. But when you said family problems, I will go ahead and tell you, no spoilers. You hit the nail on the head. That is one of the biggest themes of this entire series. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They don't get that, I came from a broken home. I don't know if your parents are still married, if they got divorced. My parents got divorced.
They separated.
Okay.
Very young.
So coming from that kind of background, you already can tell, you see Shinji's father, Gendo, but you never see his mother. So you don't know anything about his mother yet, and I'm not going to say anything. So, but you already know there's a broken home there. All right, that's good. That's good that you picked up on that. Very good. Okay, so the other characters we met, you briefly met Rei. So far, what do you think of Rei?
Rei, was she the one in the bed in the hospital?
Rei, yeah, she's got the blue hair. Okay. She was in the hospital bed. She was the one that was supposed to pilot Unit 1, but Shinji stepped up.
So, my first take of her, I felt somewhat, compassion towards her just because she looked badly injured. And going later into the first episode, seeing how when they're in the is it the Avas? Are they all called Avas or
Yes,
Evans?
You've got Evangelion Unit 0, Unit 1, and Unit 2. Rei pilots Unit 0, which is the prototype. Again, I'm not giving you any spoilers. I mean, that kind of a spoiler, but I mean, that's not anything big. Shinji pilots Unit 1, and Asuka, when she comes in, pilots Unit 2.
Okay, so taking from when Shinji goes up there in the midst of the action and how he's reacting to the angel grabbing the Evangelion, I could see where I have compassion towards her just them introducing her in where she's all bandaged up. And again, this goes back to where you said they're 14, they're getting a lot of pressure put on them, and in that moment with Shinji, I guess that was like his turning point in his decision where he's like, oh shit, okay, they're kind of dependent on me. But again, putting a lot of responsibility on a 14-year-old.
and again, you're being perceptive because later on through the series, you learn secrets about Rei, which again, I'm not going to tell you anything as to why that happened, why there's a closeness there. A little fact that I know you don't know. I'm a big fan of Urusei Yatsura, Lum. Lum was the premier anime girl throughout like the 80s and early 90s. She was the big, anime girl. Everyone loved Lum. When Evangelion came out, I hate to say it, kind of, because I love Lum, but I love Rei too. Rei dethroned Lum.
So she took the spotlight.
Rei became the #1 anime girl in the world after Evangelion came out. So that's a big reason why I ask you what you thought of Rei. I mean, you only see her for a couple of seconds. You don't see her too much. So,
but, I mean, just a little time that you've seen her, there's a lot of information given on her without really even saying anything. Okay, why is she injured like this? Why is she in a hospital bed? I mean, it's like not even 5 minutes of you really even seeing her.
I think you'll dig Rei. I think you'll really like her once you learn more about her. Okay, so I'm saving one of my favorite characters for last, but I'm going to say, Gendo, Shinji's father. What did you think of him so far? And by the way, the council that he was sitting at the table with, those guys are known as Seile. That's important to know later. They'll tell you that later, but when I mention Seile, you'll understand that was the guys around the table talking to Gendo. But what did you think of Gendo?
I feel like he was kind of a hard ass.
Okay.
Although I do feel like he has a lot of pressure on him. And what I take from when they're all sitting at the table is that the other people sitting at the table is kind of like government officials, and he is like the secondary action, like the fallback. So his program is probably something the government funded.
Okay, the story is doing its job. Good. See, it's like I told my brother last night when I was talking to him. I was telling him we were going to do this. I said it's unfair for me to talk about Evangelion. I have seen it literally hundreds of times, so I don't have that fresh perspective. I can't go back to when I first watched it and not know what I already know. But
Right.
you
You have a
seeing it
different mindset
right.
with it.
So they mentioned something, and I don't know if you caught it or not. They it was a project. It's actually called the Human Instrumentality Project, but they called it something else. But later on, they refer to it as human instrumentality. Did you catch that? Did that pique your interest at all?
I think I caught a little bit of it. Is that right before Shinji comes in?
That
Is
was
that when
when
they were talking
Gendo
about,
was.
or when they were at the table?
That's when. No, this was after Shinji fought the first angel. This was
Okay.
when they were at the table. When Sele was talking to Gendo at the table, they mentioned his primary focus should be on human instrumentality.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I do remember that.
Okay, so
'Cause he was saying just because this angel attacked, it doesn't mean you need to stop this project.
right. That is another key piece to the plot of Evangelion. Human instrumentality is a major, major thing. So if we continue watching together, or if you watch by yourself, keep that in mind. I'm pointing out things that you've hit the nail on. You're on the right track. Okay, so Ritsuko, she was the blonde, the scientist. That's Misato's best friend. What'd you think of her?
I liked her. She,
Okay.
I feel like she is going to play an important role.
Oh
I
yes.
guess.
Oh yes. Oh
I feel like
yes.
she has a lot of. I feel like she would have a lot of influence, just from what I've taken of her, have a lot of influence on Shinji's father.
Yeah. Oh man, God, the people that are listening to this, and I have a friend. I have a friend who's a big Evangelion nut like I am. I'm going to send this to him, and he's going to be sitting there, Zora. I'm talking about you, buddy. He's going to be sitting there laughing. He's just going to be like, "Oh my God, he's got it. He's dancing all around it. Oh my God, I can't believe you hadn't seen the show before." There's so much. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of symbolism in this
Yes.
show.
Yes.
One that I really picked up on is when who's the girl Shinji meets at the very beginning? The one that's in the car that picked him up.
Misato.
Okay, so when she takes him back to her apartment, I love how it really zooms in on the threshold, and it takes him a second to cross that threshold, and I feel like him crossing that threshold is the him saying, "Okay, I'm officially part of this. That there's no going back."
Right. This is my home. This is where I'm staying. This is my family now. Okay, yeah, you're catching on very quick. Very good, very good. Okay, so that brings me to my two favorite characters in all of Evangelion. And sadly, it's going to be a while before you meet the next one, Asuka. I love Asuka. But my other favorite character is Misato. I love Misato. What did you think of her?
I liked her.
Okay, so I
She
mean,
was funny.
you go from the first episode, where she's kind of playful, kind of flirty, kind of just goofy, silly, and then you find out what her living conditions are like. I mean, was that a
She's
surprise?
complete blob. Yes, it was a surprise. And I love how she's like she tells Shinji, she's like, feel free to take advantage of anything in this apartment except for me. I love her uh sexual tension, like humor. It's great.